What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk about college football with real fans. I'm Devin. That's Funky. And as you can tell, man, we got a regular face here on the show. Big time guest, Daniel Sanchez. Daniel, how you doing, man?
Good, man. How you guys doing?
Blessed, man. Excited. The season, 17 days away now. So we're getting pretty fired up to watch this new, different team come out here, man, and play some football. So,
Yeah,
yeah. They're
it's exciting.
Funky, how about you, man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. I woke up feeling like a national champion today, and we're 17 days away from Buckeye football. So I absolutely cannot wait. I mean, the shoe's going to be rocking. I'm sure that you have some probably some friendly wagers with people around your town, Daniel, with being from Texas. So I'm sure people are all up in your phone talking about that game, and they want to probably get some payback for what the Buckeyes did to them in that semifinals game. But so I cannot wait. I'll be in the shoe, and it's going to be an absolutely fun time. We're one day closer to that, so can't complain too much, Devin.
Yeah, cannot. Yeah, Daniel, you got any friendly feuds going on being there in Texas yet? Any friendly feuds?
Um, Man, I'm not gonna sit here and say that I do. I'm not a gambling man, so I
Yeah.
don't really get too caught up in that kind of stuff. But I mean, if you know, just want to kind of pop off a little bit and shoot a little lip, I'm all for that.
Yeah. I got you, man. Yeah, I figure something like that's going on. Chat, we appreciate you guys for joining us today. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, man, and we'll dive right into it, man, because several things to talk about, several changes going on with the team, man. I went to a diner today and was sitting down, kid you not, some diner I always go to, and I'm sitting there eating, and I hear somebody start talking about the Ohio State Texas game. So I peeped up a little bit, gave them some information on the team that they didn't know and what they were doing at the time. I don't bet either, Daniel. I don't do that. But that's what they were doing. They were trying to figure out who to put the money on, Ohio State or Texas, and I gave them some information. So we'll dive into that a little bit. But Daniel, obviously, your son, freshman, five-star corner, Devin Sanchez on the Buckeyes, blowing up in camp like we knew he would. He's all about his business, man.
Mhm.
He came to Ohio State to be in the best room in the country, to go against the best receivers in the country, and we'll get to the defensive side of the ball. But there's just some exciting things going on in camp, and one of those is the QB position, the QB battle, is what a lot of people are saying. Here on this channel, we expect to be Julian saying, but we know there's two people battling, but from an experienced quarterback last year to a new quarterback this year, sophomore Julian Saying, never played before, or Lincoln Keenholz, whatever one we want to go with. But your opinion on that, Daniel? What's your thoughts on our quarterback position from anything that you've gathered, or just what you know about Julian and the rest of the guys on the team?
Man, well, let me first start by saying that, again, as you guys heard me kind of say over and over again on Pop's Pod, man, I am not an insider. I am not
Yes.
like trying to do anything like that. But just I do talk to Devin, and he's very candid in some of the things that he talks about, as far as what guys are doing. Um, and in that particular case, I would say that he feels that they're in a good place, right?
Yeah.
Either way, whichever direction they go in, just because of the work that these guys have put in over the last over the fall, getting ready for the fall, and over the last spring. So I mean, Devin is it. I don't think there's anything where you hear some things about things may be divided or anything like that. I'm not picking up anything like that from Devin. It's just it's full speed ahead, and
Yeah.
these guys are going to get behind whoever it is.
Yeah.
As far as what I'm gathering from him.
Yeah, man. We know last year's team was super tight, lost a lot of leadership, man. But all we're hearing out of this camp, right? is that this team, just as tight, just as close, that culture and that brotherhood aspect is still there, but there's just a little bit more fire coming from these guys, so a little bit more chippiness, a little bit more edginess in these practices. And, we hear that they took down the national title banner, and they're saying, hey, we didn't do anything in new teams. So, what's your thoughts there on the identity of this team? And do you think they're going to have that? What did I hear an announcer say? He said, oh, it was Paul Feinbaugh, I believe, said that they're going to have that national title hangover over their head. Thoughts there, man.
Yeah, man, I don't put anything into what Feinbaum or guys kind of like in his lane are really talking about. Is I just don't think those guys put enough time in around in particular teams that they're talking about. I think they're just talking in generalities.
Yeah,
and I think everybody in the fan base kind of knows that guy's got he's got something going on with not only Ohio State but with the Big Ten as a whole. He's an SEC guy. It's again, you kind of brought it up, right? Man, there's something to do with these guys that are getting ready to take this next step, and to getting on the field. Chippy's the word that you kind of used, and man, I think that's exactly what it is. There's a bunch of young guys out there that are hungry. They're ready to prove themselves. Being in that proximity of being around that national championship team, man, has really lit a fire into some of these guys. And I think that's what you're seeing coming out on the practice field over these last few practices that they've had. And I think that's really what it is, man. They got a bunch of young guys, man, that are really out there hungry to prove themselves, man.
Yeah, amen. Funky.
Yeah, speaking on that, obviously the defensive back position, we're losing some key starters, and I mean Jordan Hancock and Denzel Burke, but then we're turning guys like Iggy and Jermaine Matthews. I mean, who does Devin talk about if there's like a fairly verbal leader in that room right now? Because it could be Lorenzo Styles, who's a fifth-year senior, or Iggy, who's going to senior year. Does he talk about one person in particular who's really taking up that leadership position?
And I think it's a combination of the three guys you kind of named, with Lorenzo Styles, and then Jermaine and NIGB are just in conversation with him. He's talked about how he's kind of had to lean on some of these guys and all of these guys at different points. And of course the big dog in the overall room, with Caleb as well. So. Yeah, I mean it's come up in conversation. All those guys are outstanding young men. And like I say, he's really had an opportunity over the summer to get really close with these guys and get under their wing and just kind of learn. So yeah, it's been an exciting thing. Just kind of sit back and just kind of watch and just see him just kind of, get under that.
Yeah. Man, speaking of that, I asked Duke this yesterday, and I'm, intrigued to get your opinion on this. But you have this, right, the recruiting world where, 5 stars, big time players, or any other player, they got a list that they pick from. And sometimes really high on that list is playing time, right? Some of these guys, they're the dudes at their high school, so they want to be the dudes at college too. They want to walk into a room that they can get directly on the field, right? So how big of a difference do you think it is that a player, like your son, for instance, right, 5-star best, number 1 ranked corner in the nation, he's coming in and he's proven it. He doesn't care about the rankings, don't mean anything unless you can't put it on the field. Well, as of right now, he's putting it on the field. He's putting in that work. He's dedicated his time to do that. So how much of a benefit do you think that's going to be? Because he comes in with like the physical skill sets to go out there day one and be a dude on the field. But now he has the opportunity to sit behind, right, guys with a lot of experience that he can come into, that he's probably physically more or just as gifted as already. But he'll be sitting behind them at least for a minute and being able to soak in and watch their successes and their failures.
Mhm.
So speak to that a little bit, man. I mean, he chose to come here. He knew it was a loaded room. How much difference is that for a player in their future? Like, what's that going to do for them in the NFL?
Man, that's something that we've been kind of preparing for a little bit of time now, and it's in Devin's situation, he's kind of been through this before, right? When he even though we're not talking about the same kind of level, we're talking about same kind of experiences. Where we're going into North Shore, Devin walked into a rotation of a couple older guys, a couple guys who are playing D1 ball right now. But again, that Devin being where he is, he showed that he could do some things and had opportunities to get out there a little bit early. So again, we've always just kind of stressed, trying to be as honest as we possibly can with our son, and again, my whole thing is to take from my experience and be able to guide my son down the right road, and and try to navigate through some of the things that kind of made me stumble, right? And just a part of those things is just being able to understand that man, there's always a time and a season for yourself, and you got to put in some work. You have to quote unquote earn your stripes, right? In this particular case, these young men are trying to earn losing that stripe. But yeah, man, it's something that Devin's we've kind of tried to get there. No, hey man, you're not. We worked hard to get to this place, but man, you got to start all this over again, right? You got to go in. You got to learn how to do these things. You kind of have to reset everything, right? And so that's something that he's had to do. And from what from my vantage point, I think he's done a pretty good job with it. I haven't heard a lot of frustration in his voice. I've been there myself. I know that guys can hit the wall, especially in camp, things like this. Things happen. Guys, take their foot off the gas a little bit. You start having injuries. Things start popping up. Guys get a little irritated. They start having a couple fights here and there. So I mean, this stuff is to be expected. But again, man, I think Devin's, as a dad, just is without, trying to, be any kind of way about it. I think Devin's really handled himself very well. Just going through this transition and just being a man, about what he's walking into, and not bitching and moaning about it, just going in and working and knowing that, hey man, this is what it is. You got to put in this work, you got to put in this time. Nobody's going to give you shit. Excuse the way that I put it, but I mean, it just is what it is.
Yeah, man, that's the mentality and the culture that Ryan Day, has created here. When you got freshmen like his caliber, Riley's caliber, and quite frankly, man, this whole freshman class has come in, and it sounds like that they have got their stuff together. Mm-hmm. They are pressing some of these, upperclassmen and learning from them, and they understand where they're at, right? Just the physical transformation from some of these freshmen walk. And you hear some of their test numbers, then you see pictures of them standing beside third and fourth year players, and they look the same. You know what I mean? If we didn't know who they were, you wouldn't be able to pick out the freshman out of the group. It's like, we don't know which one it is. So I think that speaks a lot to what Ryan Day has created there, man, that the family, the brotherhood, having Christ and all those things combined together equals an environment like this for kids like Devin and other kids in this class that understand there's levels to this thing, right? They may have been at the upper level in high school, but like you said, now they got to reset, man, because this is a new level. You're going to learn things from your high school time. You're going to have things you want to take from there, but you want to implement them into this next level and kind of reset, man. So it's been fun.
Yeah.
Watching their progress, man.
Yeah.
Funky, you got anything on that before, or Daniel, do you want to say something else?
I just kind of you touched on something, just a second
Yeah.
ago that I kind of wanted to bring up, right? Dietra and I, my wife, we had the opportunity to, we were in Columbus last week. We just dropped in just to visit Devin for the weekend, right? Just didn't want to watch practice or anything like that. We didn't do any of that kind of stuff. We're in the mindset of we don't want to crowd things. We just kind of want him let him do his own thing. Without the pressure of mom and dad standing over his shoulder and watching and critiquing what he's doing. But I do want to say, over that weekend, you talked about, how these young men, work. And man, a lot of people, just kind of sit back and, you kind of ask, well, why is that? Why do people think that these guys work so hard? What they're doing. And man, I can tell you, they had a little family get together with some of the folks that were in town, with some, parents of some of the players. And man, when I tell you, not just only the class of 25, but just among some of the transfers and some of the older upperclassmen that are around, man, the answer to that question is, man, it's the parents, man. Man, I can't tell you, every time we go down, Dietrich and I run into a new parent, man, that we sit down and we chit chat with for a hot second, and man, we just walk away just like, man, those are really good people, and just like, well, man, it's no wonder that their son is where he is, or he's spoken of the way he is, just like, look at mom and dad. And so man, I just wanted to kind of put that out there, man. It's, this is a great group of people that we've had the opportunity to kind of, meet and get closer to, as we've, kind of, joined in with this brotherhood of the Buckeyes.
Yeah. Funky.
I mean, that's great to hear, especially, coming from a parent, and we can kind of pick up on that just from, short conversations we have with Devin, with some of the kids that commit to Ohio State. And I'm just wondering, is there any freshmen that maybe aren't in the Buckeye fan eye that you want to really talk about and praise, that they're just doing a really good job in their first couple of weeks on campus? Because we've seen Nate Roberts and Riley Pettijohn and your son all lose their black stripe already. But anyone else who you just really want to highlight or give a shout out to?
Off the top, I don't want to single anybody out off the top. I would just say, man, again, just about every young man that I've come across in that class of 25 is super solid. And that, again, that just goes without saying, and it's usually because of the parents that are around. Right. So, I mean, again, guys like, I got a special place for guys like Phillip Bell. Devin had a relationship with Phillip Bell back when they were playing 7-on-7. Man, personal favorite of mine is the St. Clair family, man. I love what Tavian's doing. Guys like that, man. I'm a big fan of Jay Cook, man. I think his folks are great. Nate Roberts, the same way. One of the guys that Devin continues to tell me, when I do talk to him, without giving too much away, man, this, it's like, hey, this guy is for real. Bo, man, I continue to hear that name, on the offensive side. So I mean, yeah, man, it's and again, if I'm leaving anybody out, it's not on purpose, but those are some of the names that come to right off top.
I mean, that's good to hear. That you said a bunch of buzzwords there. Yeah, Phillip Bell is one of my favorites. He grew up right next to me here in California, so love seeing him pop off. And yeah, I mean, Tavian's a great kid. So, and then the whole Jake Cook recruitment hits a special place in our heart. Kid that didn't even earn an offer until later on in the process, and already showing out, it seems like, from all accounts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man, you said something. I just want to reiterate, because being in the spot I'm in now, being able to, building a relationship with you and some of these recruits, and understanding, having, that part of being a Buckeye fan now, man, it just gets so much more real when I talk to recruits and their families, and like you said, definitely. I mean, even some of the kids Ohio State offers that we don't get, but they're going after, and definitely all the commits, man. There's a pattern when we talk to these recruits, and behind the recruits, there's always a support group that has a similar mindset, man. And there's certain families that kind of stand out, and every time, right, we talk to another recruit or another family, we're like, dang, man, they have the same type of mindset as this previous family, right? Of these guys. So I think it's so cool, man. What's going on there? Ryan Day, the staff that he's building there, and everybody involved in it is like all the way bought in. And it's really cool because you got to think about how difficult that's got to be for him, man. Like to find like-minded people like that and also keep them on the same train. It's like 105 teenagers in a room, and you've got to somehow keep these guys on track and focused and whatnot. And I love it, man, because I'm starting to see the truth. When you hear things like when you hear Ryan Day say, man, my number one priority is raising these men the right way, right? So they can succeed in this life. There's a part, if you're a regular fan and you don't know these things, you can almost think, man, that's coach speak. All the coaches are obviously going to say that. But no, man, with him, like that's real stuff. And I mean, that's not my opinion. That's what you guys say. Duke, yep. Daniel, all the other parents and stuff. So, man, it's a really cool thing to see. And it's a very special part of the Buckeyes program that I think gets taken for granted a lot, if I'm being honest about it, by several people. So
I think what you just brought up, man. I think again, so many great things about Ohio State, right? That they have going for them, and I think right now, as far as recruiting is going, again, they're in a very unique spot, and I think they're taking full advantage of this. And here's why. Here's my perspective on it. Right, Ryan Day's going through it right now. He's his RJ is right in the thick of it. Every day his name bubbles a little bit more, and I think with RJ going through the process, I think Coach Day has had the unique opportunity to kind of pull back and not really look at this thing and say so much as a coach, but to be able to put his parent hat on and really put those blinders on and see, what's really important to the other side, right? Not so much what's important to that side, but what's on the other side. And yeah. I think that's why they're in a unique, really unique place right now as far as recruiting is going. The job that they're doing, making connections with the relationships. I think it really has to do with taking full advantage of Coach Day being in the middle of the process.
Yeah, no doubt, man. The other thing that's cool to see it is this Texas Ohio State relationship that has been built. You see in the chat, man, people bringing it up. You got your son, Peoples, Pierce, Pettijohn, like these players coming from Texas to Ohio State right now. Like, every one of them walking in the door is about their business. They are serious. They're not playing around. I mean, several of them are like top 10 on the team, and a lot of their agility drills and strength drills. And not only that, but we're hearing like from a fundamental aspect of learning the game and learning positions, they're handling that, very well. Being in Texas, man, what do you think that is? Do you think it's the amount of effort and time that's put into the high school football? Like what is it, man?
I think that's exactly what it is. Again, man, I kind of liken it to, depending on where you're from, man. It's books and ball, man. Really, in a lot of situations, man. Ball is like church to a lot of people down this way, man. For us personally, man, we've been trying to, get to this point for a long time. In some cases, yeah, just like Dietrich says, it's business all the time. So I mean, it's just the way it is. So I mean, it's in certain aspects, man, these guys don't even look at it as work, right? This is just a part of it. If you're brought up in it, man, this is just what we do, right? And like I say, man, it's with kids like Pettijon, Devin, man. It's these I don't call it, you heard the expression, man. These are they're field birds, man. They're out there, man. They're catching balls. They're running around, man. They're doing their thing.
Yeah, that's really cool to hear, man. So you're a Buckeye. This is your first off season as an official Buckeye. So now your son's playing for him. You're rooting for him, right? So I'm sure I know you are. You're well aware of what happened last year. You're well aware of the team last year. So in an aspect, you're a father of a parent, and then you've also become a fan of the Buckeyes. You want to see success from the Buckeyes. So offensively, we saw them last year with Will Howard, the receivers. We know the weapons that they have, but from that perspective that you have now, the father, the fan, all of that, man, what is it that excites you about the offensive side of the ball this year? And then we'll dive into the defensive side a little bit.
Man, I mean, it's
so many things, right?
Yeah, it's man, it's always exciting, man, when you got the best player in the country, split out there wide, man, and you got a guy in the back who you can get the ball to him. That's doesn't get much better than that, man. Excited to see all this meat on the front end. Now I was looking at something just yesterday where it talked about, we got all these Cincinnati guys on the O-line, man, all pushing over 310. Things like that, man, are exciting to me. Yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at with it, man. I want to, even though my son plays defense, I'm an offensive guy. I believe in lighting up the scoreboard. I believe in, stepping on necks, man. I believe in running people out of the gym, man. I'd love to see us, like I say, I don't want to put a particular phrase out there, man, but I'd like to see him really make the scoreboard light up, man.
Yeah.
Yep. How is it how does Devin describe guarding Jeremiah Smith? Because as someone who, I haven't played football since the flag football ages, but someone who's been around pretty good athletes. But how does he describe, guarding someone like that at 19 years old?
To quote him, it's tough. It's not easy. And that's not only him. It's a lot of guys in that room that Devin speaks highly of. Carnell, Marlon Graham, Quincy Porter, these Brandon Ennis, man, every day it's something different, right? And and all these guys are different, right? And so that's the what putting it plainly, man, that's the reason why we decided to come here. When you got guys like that, that you're working against every day, you're either, like you say, man, that pressure is either going to make you a diamond or that pipe's going to pop, man. And we're hoping to shine a little bit, just from the opportunities we have to be able to get out and get work with these guys.
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. I always wonder how that affects recruitment process for the defensive back position here at Ohio State. Because even if you don't really see the field much, you're seeing legit NFL type talent, no matter where you are. You could be first or second string player, and you're seeing NFL talent. All the time. You can just look back at the history. Marvin Harrison Jr. caught 3 touchdowns in the Rose Bowl after being on the bench all year. Mm-hmm. So. And that's where our second string defensive back had to go against every single day. So, that's just good to hearing from you, and I couldn't even imagine. So,
no, it's man, you got to be a different kind of guy to want to come to Ohio State and just to practice every day, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, man. What's for other guys is for other guys, man. If you want to go run somewhere else, man, and try to take that easy road and skate on by, man. Hey, have at it, do what you got to do. But we've always pressed, believe, man. If you want to be the best, man, you got to compete against the best, and you got to do it every day, man.
Yeah. Yeah, man, that's not a light statement. I think it gets brushed over a lot, but when you think about the recruiting aspect of it, it takes a special individual, man, to walk in, at Ohio State, a place where if you take a day off, if you have a bad day, you could be set back a month. You could just be set back a career almost,
Yeah.
because they ain't waiting for you.
Right.
I mean, there's 5-star after 5-star after 5-star. You just,
Right.
there's no days off. There's no, oh, coach, my bad, didn't have time to study yesterday. It's no, you ain't got a choice.
Right.
You're going to do it.
Right.
You're going to fail. You're going to fail.
Yeah.
So,
And that's just on the physical, right? And we're not even bringing up the mental. We're just talking about, physically going out there and practice against JJ every day. Carnell Tate every day. We're not even talking about the stuff that, Brian Hartline and, Coach Day are drawing up on the board. We're not even talking about that kind of stuff, man. The X's and O's, the time, the mental, the time that these guys got to put in just to mentally be there, right? To, just to understand their assignment and alignment before the play even snaps. Man, it's a lot. It's a lot going into what these young men are doing, man. It really is.
yeah. Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because all these player interviews, right? All we hear is, man, they're pros here. Look, these transfers, Phillip Daniels, Boax, man, these are pros here. This is a pro style organization. So it's almost like, man, it's not really a high school to college jump. It's almost, bro, let's go to high school and throw you in the NFL, and that's a big, that's a big thing all these players are saying, man. And then you look at the coaches on the roster, look at the NFL experience. No wonder, we got 3 former NFL defensive coordinators on this team. And you brought up that's the learning side of it. From the learning side, they're learning an NFL style defense and having to, play it out on the field in an NFL way. Right.
Right.
But then you have all this other stuff. So has Devin spoke about that at all to you, or have you seen differences in him from the mental aspect of the football game and life? That's, the difference from going from high school to college. What are these things that you've seen from him that you can say are probably a result of that?
The first thing is one thing that I really pushed to try to prepare him for, because I didn't, he's not perfect, right? So I didn't see this from him coming up in high school, and I would kind of, try to warn him. It was the film study. Man, just like, man, film study is going to be really intense, man. You got to watch film a little bit more. You got to learn how to watch film. You got to pay attention to certain details. These are things that you got to look for when you're watching film, right? I don't think he quite understood that until he actually physically got there. So I would say right off the top, that's the one thing that I know that I've spoken to him about that's a little challenging for him when he first got there, was the amount of time that they spent in the meeting rooms. But then what I would say that I'm pleased with, right, as a dad, is seeing him become what I would regimented, right, where hey, look, I got this to do at this time. I got this to do at that time. When I get done with this, I got this much time in between this next thing. So what am I doing in between this time, right? How am I maximizing that free time that I got? What am I going to do in between there, right? And how's that stuff benefiting me for what I'm getting ready to move in later on that day, right? And so things like that, I'm starting to see my son, make what I would call a grown man decisions on things, right? Where instead of, hey, when I got this 2-hour gap in between this thing, well, I'm gonna go run over here and run to the mall real quick, or I'm gonna go slide over here and get with this girl real quick. No, he's like, no, man, I'm gonna go grab something to eat real quick, and I'm gonna go catch a nap for an hour and a half. or I'm going to go run in here and I'm going to go get this treatment for, for this amount of time, or I'm going to run over here to Sasso and I'm going to get this work done over at this here. So things like that are things that I'm real happy with as far as, just as on the parent side. And those are things that I'm seeing, him really hone in on, him really tighten up on, him really become a man on, and just, hey man, I got this to do. And, nah, man, I don't have time for the other BS. This is, really what I need to be doing.
Yeah. That's a big time step for somebody at that age. That's one of the things, man, when you're picking that as a recruit and as a parent, man, I'm guessing at from the parents aspect of list, that's one of those things, man, somewhere where he's around like-minded individuals that are doing those same things you're saying. Cause Devin's not the only freshman or the only player that's making those choices that you just said. He's around people that are doing it. He doesn't have to be the lone dude that stays back and doesn't go out. Right. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the lone dude if he decides to go out and do something he shouldn't be doing. Funk, you got anything to add? And we'll get into the defensive side of the ball real fast and wrap her up.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about this, I think, earlier this summer, Devin. We were talking about how it seems like this freshman class is going to have a higher hit rate than maybe some other freshman classes had in the past and in general in college football. And I mean, we really thought about it, and I was like, wow, you're right. There's a lot of guys seemingly, Javon McFadden, Jake Cook pushing for the second team offensive line, and obviously Phillip Bell, and I mean, a bunch of these guys. I'm not trying to skip over anyone, obviously, but we're hearing about, a lot of really good freshmen. I mean, the running back room has two amazing ones. And I personally am thinking about it now. I'm like, well, that would make a lot of sense. I mean, where kids are just more locked in, even if that's possible at Ohio State. I think we've done a pretty good job of, very good job at the last 20 years, obviously, to maintain the success. But I think especially now under Ryan Day and these, new coaches, but the same strength coach, I think the guys have really done a nice job in picking that up. And it's just amazing hearing this from you directly, Mr. Sanchez, because I could hear all I want from other people, but hearing it from a parent's mouth, it just hits different, makes me feel like the program's in a really good spot. And my last question about the defensive side is, has Devin talked to the new the new ex-defensive coordinator, Josh, I believe his name is, Josh Boyer. Has he talked about his impact on the team yet? Has he spoken to the team, or do you know anything about that?
I don't. That is not something that we've talked about. And to be honest, I don't know if Devin's had an actual chance to, come in contact with him. So yeah, that's one I'm not aware of. But I will say this, as far as coordinators are going, man, Devin has a great relationship with Matt Patricia. Man, he has nothing but great things to say about, Coach P, as he calls him. Man, he's not only is he, from what I understand, a great personal guy for these guys to talk to, along with Tim Walton. Man, but he's got a real great way of communicating the X's and O's. As far as Devin, the way that Devin explains it to me, man, he's really, really, really bought in and caught a liking to Coach P.
Yeah, if you can explain rocket science, then you can explain the X's and O's of football, So
yeah. And just in my short time, the couple of conversations that I've had with him in speaking with him, man, it's funny, right? When you see these guys on television and you finally get a chance to meet them, sometimes you these guys, might get a bad rap. You might have a different impression of them, than what they really, are when you have a chance to talk with them for a minute. And I was pleasantly surprised when I had a chance to speak with Coach Patricia when I first met with him. Man, very personable guy. He's a family guy. He's a man. It's something to be said for the guys that really have a spot for their players, right? Even man, I'm an ex-ball player, right? And I coach, the little league stuff, man. But man, I do know that there are some guys out there, right, that just look at these young men as pieces on the chessboard, right? They're just, they're the little green soldiers set up on the field, right? And that's how they are. And once that time is done with them, they it's out of sight, out of mind. They don't really care about those young men, right? But among some of the guys on staff that we've had the opportunity, Coach Johnson, man, that's a great man. That's a gentleman, right? Just happens to be a football coach. Guys like Mick Marotti, again, Tim Walton, Matt Guerreri, these guys care about these young men. They're not just, pieces on the chessboard to these guys. They're really invested in these young men. And I think that's, again, it's part of the reason why we decided to send Devin to Ohio State.
Yeah. And we have heard so many players say what you just said as well. So this isn't something, right, that is just like a one-time thing, man. Obviously, Matt Patricia got hired. Everybody was freaking out about the NFL to college aspect because of relationships with, the players. It's different from college to NFL. There's no doubt there. But everything we've heard about Matty P is, coming in and everything that you just said. So, and the changes to the defense that we'll see this year, man, lost a lot of players to the NFL, the whole defensive line, linebacker, a couple leaders in the secondary as well. But man, everything we're hearing, it's just like there's going to be aspects, in my opinion, of this defense that is better than last year's defense, which last year's defense was the number one defense in the nation. So not comparing the two defenses, but they're going to look different. But I'm not worried about the defensive side of the ball, Daniel, knowing the starters and the depth that we have, man. What's your overall thoughts? How is this Buckeye defense going to do this year on the field?
Man, I think it's going to be exciting, right? And I think with if you guys know anything about Coach Patricia, right? I think what we're probably going to see here is something along the lines where we may not know what we're going to get every week, right? And I think that is exciting, right? To kind of be a little mysterious, to have teams kind of guessing at what we're going to do, who's going to be out there, who's going to be in what roles. I think that's kind of the season that we're kind of be looking at here defensively. Again, man, we got some guys in some great places. Couple, All-American candidates out there, man. So they got the firepower to go along with the young guys that I think they're getting ready. They're training up the young pups, getting those guys, locked in on what they're doing, man. I think it's going to be really exciting. I think these, again, some of the guys that they call crash outs are on the defense, and these guys are flying around. Man, I don't think a lot of guys, really realize, man, how impressive some of these young men are, man, until you actually, stand next to, guys like, Kenyatta Jackson, man, and Riley Pettijohn, guys like that, man. These kids they're put together, man, and man, it's they're moving fast, man. It's kind of scary. But like I say, man, it's man, I'm really looking forward to it, man. I can't say it enough. Man, these next couple of weeks can't get here fast enough, man. Football's here, man. This is what I'm living for, 365, man. We've been waiting for this, man, for so long. We've kind of already been in the Scarlet, man. We're just changing that helmet, man, and we can't wait to get back up to Columbus here in the next couple of weeks, man, to see this thing, man, and just for Devin to start this journey, man, with the Buckeyes, man. We're really excited. We really are.
Are you going to be at the game week 1?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Dumb question.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Funky, you got anything on the defensive side of the ball? And then Daniel, we got to get your thoughts on that game, man, the Texas game, and then we'll shut her down. Funky, what's up?
I mean, I don't got anything really on top of the mind, but I mean, I already
Well, hit
asked
him
one
with the
question about the defensive back.
yeah,
Yeah, let's go straight into Texas, Devin. Let's go straight into it.
yeah, man. Obviously, I know not a lot of words need to be spoken because they're going to be on the field and everything's going to be decided then, man. But like I said, at a random diner today, and that game is already being talked about. And I got in a little argument. There was some, I think it was a Georgia fan said, no, Georgia, Alabama is going to be the biggest game of the year. And I said, no, man, it's Texas, Ohio State. They're going to be the biggest game of the year.
Yeah.
So big game, man. I mean, 1-2 in my eyes. Both teams lost a lot of NFL talent. So everybody keeps talking about what Ohio State lost. And it's like, man, I don't focus on that. Look what we got, man. Like we're locked and loaded. I promise you that. But just overall thoughts, man. What are you excited to see? What are maybe some things that you're interested to watch as far as what the Buckeyes need to do to win this game, man, and light that scoreboard up, like you said?
For me personally, man, I'm really looking forward to seeing Coach P versus Sark. Just kind of how he deals with that, what he's going to do with that. Man, and other than that, man, I mean, basically, man, I really, man, I want to see these guys go out and set the tone. I really, without being disrespectful about it, man, I really want to see these guys go out and stomp Texas out. I really want to see these guys go out and move fast, start fast. I really want to see these guys go out and not really, give a shit. I want to see these guys go out and really be ultra aggressive, and just really walk all over Texas, man, and run them out of the shoe. Send them home early, like halftime early, let's start the party early, man. If everything goes right, man, I think that'll be the perfect way to start off on August 30th, man. Just really running Texas up out of that thing, man, and have a solid week of these talking heads, just kind of like, man, what the hell was that? Like, well, what happened? Like what was that?
Yeah.
I'm loving what I'm hearing. Yo, this is great. That's like the Tennessee game, Tennessee-esque. That's
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
Or we could throw the Rose Bowl in there too, man. I want another Rose. I want it to be the Rose Bowl because at halftime, boy, them Oregon fans were shuffling on out the door. I promise you, I was there. I watched them start leaving the stadium. So, yeah, man. But you brought up a point, man. Another thing about Matt Patricia is, everybody that we hear when they ask about what's the difference in the defense, Matty P said, I don't really know the difference. I wasn't here for Jim Knowles, but some of these players are like, man, it feels more free, right? They're more excited to get out there because of how he uses their certain skill set and gives them a little bit more freedom at their position. So, you use the phrase, we want them to go out and not give a crap, but hey, man, in that there's a freeing feeling that these players can go out and unleash what they're able to do specifically. So there's a lot of freaks on this team, man. And, we got several freshmen in the top 10, and you got freshmen like Devin and Riley and several other ones, Tavian St. Clair, that, they're not starting. That's our depth. That's our second team. I mean, they'll have their opportunity. It will come, but when they would be starters on any other team in the nation, most other teams in the nation, and they're going to come back. That shows you the skill and the depth that this Buckeye team has, man. So I think it's going to be Daniel, I want what you got. I wouldn't be like jaw drop surprised. The Buckeyes come out and they do that. I just wouldn't be. But Funky, your thoughts, man?
I mean, I'm always going to pick the Buckeyes to win, and I'm excited for the game. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a great, great game. So having a lot of – I'm from California, Mr. Sanchez, so having Julian Sain out there – or sorry, probably Julian Sain out there at quarterback. I'm like very, very excited for that, as he's like a Northern San Diego kid. So Just like absolutely that to me excites me a lot. And then Max Clayer's got a special place in my heart. So seeing those two guys roll out with obviously the wide receiver room doesn't need to be really talked about too much. I'm just really excited to watch all these guys play. And I'm not sure if it's been we know this for a fact, but is Matty P going to be up in the box or on the field? Does anyone, do you, Mr. Sanchez or Dev, know that?
I don't know that, but I do know from history that he's been a field guy. So I would be surprised if he's in the box.
Got you. So
well, the other thing to add to that is the hire of Josh Boyer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Matty P said in that interview with Edelman that he's the best dude to have in the box. So when I heard him say that on that interview, and then we hire him, it's like, man, it's looking like, and how close Matty P is to these players, man. I guarantee he wants to be down there with them dudes, man. I guarantee it.
So it seems like we're gonna have correct me, or like, is Brian Hartline's probably gonna be on the field as well, right? So we're gonna, you think?
I would guess so. That would be my guess, but I don't know. I don't know there. That's maybe they stick. I don't know. You want somebody with a lot of experience up there. I was about to say you don't want Keenan Bailey or somebody up there without a lot of experience. So I don't know. But I know one thing. We're going to find out in 17 days, man.
Yes, we will.
And I personally don't give a dang where they're at, man. We're going to have players on the field, dude. And I think we're going to go out there and rock it, man. But Funky, you got any final words from Mr. Sanchez or Buckeye Nation before we hop off here?
Thanks for joining us today. Genuinely appreciate it, and everyone else appreciates it because it's always great content and great to finally get to be on a show with you. I've been watching all of them clearly. So, but yeah, those thanks for coming on, and thanks for Devin. Thanks for having me.
Man, I appreciate you guys having me on, man. Like I say, it's always great. Like I say, I appreciate everything.
Yeah, man. I thoroughly enjoy hearing the real life truths about Ohio State. We get caught up in the football aspect of it, and then there's other aspects of it that quite frankly mean more. These kids' lives and what they're doing off the field, the decisions they're making, man, that excites me. It excites me to know that that's the program Ohio State football is, because in today's day and age with Twitter and Instagram and message boards and all that, dude, Daniel and Funky both, how things can just, one simple sentence can light a fire of negativity and all this other stuff, man. But we're hearing it right here, like right from somebody. You're in it, man. Daniel, you're not saying this stuff based off what you're reading on message boards and what you're hearing on YouTube shows and all that. This is real life stuff here, man. This isn't a sales pitch or anything. I love it. I love hearing that stuff.
Man, I've learned, man, that, to kind of stay away from that stuff, man. And that's part of I've been a little out of pocket, man. Been a little absent. As the seasons got a little closer, man, I've tried to kind of distance myself from some of that stuff. Just trying to get that callus going right now. I know it's gonna be it's a long season. Things are look, we're shooting for perfection, man. But hopefully we know we're not going to get there. But you will be excellent, man. But I mean, that excellent could be 11-1. So I mean, there could be a slip up somewhere, man. Just got to be prepared for it. And I know, if you're ready for it, and you're expecting all the things that may come from that, man. These things that come up, man, won't surprise you when they do. I mean, we try to be ready for everything, man.
That's the thing about being the best, man, is when you're the best, dude, everybody's watching. Yeah. Everybody's watching, and you get judged by everything. I mean, you're seeing poor Oklahoma quarterback. People are going through his Venmo transactions and blowing him up, dude. It's just wow.
It's unfortunate. It really is. It is.
So I like what you said. His parents, you better build that callus up, man, because, man, especially at Ohio State, man, like I said, national champs, projected, first, second in the odds to come out and do it again, man. But Daniel, as always, dude, appreciate you, man. Appreciate what you do, man, for Buckeye Nation, what you and D both do for Buckeye Nation and your son, man. We're excited to have you guys part of the family, part of the team. I'm excited to watch this season. But on that note, chat, Don't forget, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button on both channels for us, and we'll catch you next time. Love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Go Buckeyes. OH.
IO.
IO.